guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my ADHD and all the ways in which it was missed and misdiagnosed. Okay, so I want to start off by saying that ironically, it wasn't a doctor or psychologist or psychiatrist that actually picked up the ADHD, it was a friend and fellow other patients. A bit of my backstory is for most of my life I've been misdiagnosed with anxiety and depression, which is really ironic because I've always felt like a kind of happy person and I've always had excess energy, and I suppose that was just like picked up as anxiety, and they like to group anxiety and depression together. So, and quick disclaimer, if you think you have ADHD, talk to your doctor. I'm not a healthcare professional. And second of all, ADHD can actually present very differently in women compared to men because women are traditionally told, to sit more still, be more polite. So women are actually very good at masking the symptoms of ADHD. Okay, so my first symptom that was misdiagnosed as anxiety were all the racing thoughts in my head, which I can see why that would look like anxiety, but honestly, it's just that my head wouldn't shut off. And it was amazing because when I first tried Concerta, which is the stimulant I'm on, my head, guys, it was amazing. All the buzzing, all the noise in my head just went down a notch. And I was like, is this how normal people feel and can focus? It was amazing. So I've always had a problem, I guess, with overthinking, with lots of thoughts coming into my head, sometimes feeling like I'm bombarded with my own thinking. And that was always diagnosed as anxiety, and it was never anxiety because antidepressants and benzodiazepines never worked on me. Next symptom is extreme procrastination and anxiety about the things that I don't want to do. And I know that can seem like laziness or this and that, but it's not. It really showed up when I had to do things like essays for English. I'd get so anxious about the perfectionism about it, and then I would just procrastinate completely. And again, that can seem like anxiety. It's actually a symptom of ADHD, not being able to start the task initiation and executive dysfunction. So yeah, since being on the medication, I've actually found it much easier to start things that I don't want to do. And when it comes to the perfectionism issue, that is more anxiety related, I would say. I just got interrupted and I completely lost my train of thought, which is another symptom of ADHD. Okay, yes, I was talking about perfectionism, task initiation, executive dysfunction. Those were not anxiety. Putting off wanting to do an essay, that was not anxiety. That was ADHD. Okay, this next symptom can kind of present as an eating disorder, and I would never really thought it was ADHD, and this one is binge eating and then going really long periods forgetting to eat. So I would swing between the two, and it was really exhausting and confusing, and I didn't fully understand it. But now that I got diagnosed with ADHD and I've seen other people have this, I feel so much more at peace, like knowing I'm not crazy. So yeah, I go through periods where I binge eat, and that's okay. I love food, and I go through periods where I obsess about a certain type of food, and I keep eating the exact same food over and over to the point where I'm completely sick of the food and never want to touch it again. Kind of like when I over listen to a song and then I never want to listen to it again. And then I go through periods where I get so immersed in like some kind of creative hobby or whatever that I forget to eat all day, and then by the evening I am starving and I overeat. So yeah, that's ADHD. It's not anxiety or an eating disorder. That's ADHD. Okay, the next one, I'm going to call it nervous fidgeting, because now that I know it's ADHD, it wasn't really nervous fidgeting, it was just like feeling the need to move. So I, for a long time, was suppressing my need and urge to fidget. So when I'm studying, I tend to like bob my leg, but I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought that was anxious energy. And every time I had the urge to fidget, I would panic inside thinking, am I anxious? What's wrong with me? Now I let myself fidget. I have this right here with me. By the way, this is really addictive. These bubble pops, I love them. And I let myself fidget with my earrings. I have jewelry. I have little like crystals and stuff that I play with. And it's honestly helped so much. Just giving my body the freedom to fidget as it needs is so freeing. Okay, the next one is poor working memory. So I don't know if you've ever experienced something like brain fog, or you've just learned something and you literally can't explain it to someone else and you can't get it out of your head. That could be a symptom of ADHD, and I used to think it was a symptom of stress. It wasn't. It was literally just my ADHD. I struggle with poor executive dysfunction and working memory, which is really funny because sometimes, okay, this is a very ADHD thing. Like, I don't know, a year later, I'll be able to recite some really random fact because my brain decided to store it in my head. And yet I can't tell you what I ate for dinner last night because I really can't remember. Okay, the next symptom, don't know really whether to call it a symptom or not, is basically feelings of guilt, feeling unworthy, feeling like you're not living up to your potential. Now, I can see how these could have gotten classified as depression and anxiety, but for me, it was to do with the fact that with my ADHD, it's like I wanted to get out of bed and do the thing, or I had all these great ideas of things I wanted to do, but I just couldn't get myself to start and do it. And then that would manifest as feeling guilt, because I would feel guilty for not getting up and being more productive, and I'd feel shame about not getting myself to move out of bed. And with the one of not living up to my potential, again, it was coming back to feeling like I was being lazy, and I wasn't. It was just ADHD. So yeah, if you struggle with those kinds of feelings, it could be related to ADHD. I still struggle with feelings of guilt and shame at the moment, but I'm slowly accepting myself and working through it. Okay, the next symptom could manifest as like a sleep disorder or insomnia. So a lot of people with ADHD can't get their brains to shut off at night. That's me, and it's also highly linked to delayed sleep phase disorder, which I think I have. I haven't been diagnosed, but my circadian rhythm is all over the place. Like sometimes I can only fall asleep at 4 a.m, sometimes 6 a.m, and then sometimes I only wake up at 1 p.m, 2 p.m, 3 p.m. It happens, it's okay. So for the longest time I thought I was just a huge insomniac, or it was to do with anxiety and worrying at night, but I've been taking note of why I can't sleep every night recently, which sounds really weird. And sometimes it's just due to the fact that I have lots of creative ideas and my brain just is not tired. So sometimes I'll get up and do a really random creative task in the middle of the night or at 2 a.m, and that's totally okay. But it's a real relief to know that it's not insomnia or some scary sleep problem. It's just my brain being more active. Okay, the next one is irritability and rejection sensitive dysphoria. So how do I explain this one? For a long time I thought the irritability was also related to anxiety, and rejection sensitive dysphoria is basically reacting quite extremely, I don't want to say extremely, just having a rather big emotional reaction to small things, which is pretty common with ADHD. Now I thought that was just my mood swings. My mom for the longest time thought maybe I had bipolar type 2. I was misdiagnosed with a lot of things when I was younger. But yeah, it basically just means that we're extra sensitive to feeling rejected, and it scares us and we might overreact a little bit, and that's just who we are. And the irritability comes down to the fact that sometimes we can't get ourselves to do the things that we want to do, or someone didn't respond to us in the right way or the way that we thought they would respond. A friend maybe a friend's tone was slightly off that day. It all kind of affects us and we can get irritable about that. So yeah, I'm kind of learning to embrace it and just go with the flow more rather than beat myself up for being irritable or for being an extra sensitive person. Okay, this next symptom I had definitely looked like anxiety and kind of manifested like anxiety. This one is called sensory processing disorder. A lot of people with ADHD have this. It's basically where you're just extra sensitive to sensory stimuli. So like light can be too bright, the buzzing of a light can be annoying, noise can just be too much at times. So I used to have this sometimes if I were to go to a shopping mall on a really busy day. If there's too many people, it's too loud, I would just get so irritable and feel really anxious and have to go home and just lie down. And I always thought that was anxiety, and then I learned people with ADHD have this. So what I do now is I either wear earplugs or I have noise cancelling headphones, and if I know I'm going to be in a situation where I'm going to get like completely overstimulated, I'll plan that afterwards I am going to go to my room or somewhere quiet, turn off all the lights, put my earplugs in, go under my weighted blanket and just rest for like a solid 20 minutes, and that just brings my nervous system down. So yeah, if you have ADHD, your nervous system might be a little bit more sensitive, you might have sensory processing issues, maybe you don't like the texture of certain foods, or certain fluorescent lights are just too bright for you. I have that one a lot, and especially noise. Noise is the one that really gets me. Anyway, I hope this video helped you guys, and even if you have all of these symptoms and you're not diagnosed with ADHD, or you just have some of these symptoms, just know that it's normal. We are all human beings. Like, there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing crazy about you. I just want to, I think, bring to light the fact that we are all human beings and we all experience very similar situations and feelings, and maybe we just don't talk about them enough. So yeah, you're normal, you're loved, everything's gonna be okay. And if you'd like access to free ADHD resources, trauma resources, I have a blog and a TikTok. I'm gonna link it down below and I'll put the name of it here. It's called Luna Love. No wait, messed that up. loveluna.org. It's a blog which has free mental health resources, and one of my passions is talking about trauma, and I really want to make mental health as accessible to everyone that I possibly can, and I want to make it free to everyone and just bring mental health topics to light. And yeah, I just really want to make the world a better place. Anyway, bye guys!